Hey guys, this is part 3 of our latest haul of guns, and as promised, I showed you some Lugers that were rescued out of Canada, but I said part 3 will be Navy Lugers that were rescued out of Canada. Check them out. I have 6 Lugers here that were rescued out of Canada, and they go through a time period from the model 1906 all the way up to World War II, 1940. And I'm also going to recommend this book by Dave Molchan and say a little bit about that. But before I do, I want to let everybody know, yes, we are going to Louisville. A lot of people are asking, are you going to do Louisville this year? And you can go to the SOS Louisville Gun Show and Google that, and you'll find out more about it. But it generally is February 24 and 25. That's Friday and Saturday. And yes, we are going to do our Legacy Party again. So details will be rolling out probably soon after the first of the year. But if you don't have a hotel room, you might want to go ahead and get that now. The party will be the night of the 24th. So that's Friday night. We're not doing Saturday night because a lot of people get out of town as soon as the show is over. So Friday night, the 24th, we are going to have a Legacy Party. Stay tuned. We'll give you more detail. The party is at the Hilton Garden, same place it was last year. If you want to get a room there, they're running out of rooms, but there's a dozen hotels around there and certainly much cheaper hotel rooms if you want to search around a little bit. Get your hotel room now because they will go quickly. Okay, let's talk about some rescued Lugers. We're going to take a general walk through time starting with the 1906. Now there is a 1904. I don't have one of those and probably never will. That's the cover of this book. Again, Dave Molchan wrote a book about Navy Lugers from 1904 to 1940, and I actually have 1906 to 1940 to show you, all coming out of Canada. The main difference with the 1904, you'll probably never see one or touch one. They only made about 100, and it's in a known serial range. So before you buy something like that, you'd want to check it out. But here's the main difference. If you, this is from the book, you can see the toggle. The toggle link is like the model 1902, model 1904. It's just a slightly different toggle link, and that's the most externally recognizable thing. Now, if you read the book, there's other little differences of the 1904 to the 1906. But I'll just tell you my story of I actually did touch a 1904. I was at the Lakeland Gun Show. I put a smile on my face because I thought it was funny. This is like a year ago, so I certainly knew enough to know that it was a 1904. But I saw a Luger. It looked a lot like this. And it was in the case, and I said, can I see that Luger? And he said, sure. He knew me. That's why he actually handed it to me. I never noticed the toggle link that looks like this. Instead, I was just looking at the markings. And by the way, the Navy markings are a little bit different. And I thought, that's strange. I even remember thinking, I wonder if this is fake, because those markings don't look like the 1906s I'm used to. And so I asked the guy, so how much are you thinking? And he said, 150,000. What, is this guy crazy? And then I looked at the toggle link and I realized no wonder the markings are different is because it's a 1904. I don't know what happened to that gun. I did try to track it down and it disappeared into a private collection, but that was the only time I touched a 1904. Now let's talk about the 1906. Okay, this is the model 1906. I've done Navies before. This variation, of course, has the 6-inch barrel. It's not exactly 6 inches, but that's as close as we're going to call it. And of course, the World War II are all 4-inch barrels. I just had somebody write to me and say, I got a Navy Luger, but I think it's fake because it doesn't have the 6-inch barrel. And it was I think it was a 1937, 1936. So World War II all have the 4-inch barrel, and the World War I or before will have this 6-inch barrel. They're all in 9mm, and there is the Navy markings. Now, what's distinct is no date here, and then of course the rear sight is adjustable for 100 meters and 200 meters, so it slides back. And again, we've done videos on these before, and then the grip safety is unique to the 1904, which we don't have, and the 1906. So this is the safety. Put the safety on, and then it doesn't fire unless you grip grip that safety and put down the safety lever. So that's how it works. Straw, small parts. I'll show the other side. They all are made by DWM, by the way. There's the magazine concentric circles. They rarely will come with a matching mag. This one, what you want to look for is a Navy magazine, and it looks like this is a Navy magazine. Poorly struck, but I don't see a number, so this looks blank. It is all matching except for the magazine. I'll show you the grip straps. This is really as nice as they come. Oh, and then this also has a property mark for the, I guess that's Kiel Works. So the Kiel Navy Yard. Property, that's called the Navy property mark, and that was applied not by the factory, but by the arsenal, the Navy arsenal. Ah, I didn't notice that before. This is Germany mark, so that means it was issued and used, and then after World War I, probably exported to another country. Could have been the United States, but could be elsewhere. But this was definitely exported after use in World War I. Now this is the 1908. The only difference is everything is the same, and it should have a concentric circle. It should have the same magazine. Everything is pretty much the same. No date at the top. The markings are the same. The Navy markings here and here. Those will be the same. And they also have a Navy marking. They both will have a Navy marking, a tiny one under the barrel. This one, the finish is not as nice. Again, came out of Canada. I should mention that one of the reasons that there's a high percentage of Navy Lugers coming out of Canada. There's more in the United States, but a higher percentage coming out of Canada because the Canadian troops occupied some of the Navy bases at the end of the war, and they did go through and collect all the weapons out of the homes and all the boats in the Navy Yard, all the offices. They cleaned out all the guns, and many of them came home with the Canadian soldiers. So this one is all matching except for the magazine. Has the little chip here, which is not unusual. We call that the $1 million chip because it's probably done $1 million worth of damage with all the ones that are chipped. And then this is also in the Kiel Navy base. And then the most distinctive feature is it does not have that grip safety. The only major difference is that grip safety, and you can recognize that right away. When you're walking down in a gun show and you look in the case, you can immediately say, oh, that's a 1906, unless it's a 1904, and then you call me. And you say, oh, that's a 1908, and you can see both of those markings. They're very different in the font, and that's because they were individually applied at the arsenal. So it's not like a factory stamp. And it is over the finish. You can see halos, but it's over the finish, and that's the way it should be. That takes us to it's a model 1914. What makes this model distinct, it's a model 1914, but they were made and dated 16 and 17. So this one is dated 1917. It is made by DWM. The date is also right here. So you want to make sure that's there. It does come in 9mm. Notice the Navy markings, it's the same, and there's the date again. So the date is 1, 2, 3 places. They also made a 1916, and it'll be marked the same. There are 1918s out there, but they're all fake. I did pick one up at a gun show and realized it was fake and was able to return it. But that same gun has showed up several times at the Allentown show. But there are no real 1918s. So 16, 17, there is the proper markings. There's the marking, Navy marking here. You see halos underneath. And what makes this one interesting, I have two of the same, both of these are 1917s. You see the date here. You see the date there. But this one is 927, and this one is 924, both of them a suffix. So these are just 3 numbers apart. You notice how quickly I do my math. That's 3. 3 digits apart. Both of them are all matching. Both of them are similar condition, but I don't know. This one might be, it's hard to say. This one, the barrel is nice. They have pros and cons, but they're similar condition. Notice the concentric circle. Those are the correct magazines. Neither one of them are matching magazines, so they're all matching except for the magazine. There are also no property marks, no Navy property marks, which on the 16 and 17 Most of the property marked ones are faked, but I did, in reading through Dave's book, again, it's right here, he has a list of serial numbers, and it's very, very rare to see a Navy property mark on a 16 or a 17, but they do exist. So generally, you won't see a Navy marking. And then that takes us to, so we're up to 1917, and then between the wars, some of them were reworked for the Navy. This is a rework because you see the 4-inch barrel, but notice, see the end? The end was just cut off. So this was shortened, and that was because the Treaty of Versailles limited the barrel length. Seems silly, but they did. And then they just moved the front sight back. So that was shortened. And notice it's 1917. And notice it has the Navy markings. Notice that it's numbered here, and these navies were not originally numbered there. They were actually numbered under here. That's the side plate. Here, when they reworked it, they numbered the side plate. They reworked the whole gun. I'm sure they refinished it at the time. They cut off the barrel to comply with Treaty of Versailles. This, by the way, is a marking that indicates it was reworked. Maybe not in 1920, but that is just a marking indicating it did comply with the Treaty of Versailles for the inspectors. They marked it as being reworked. It does have the Navy rear sight, and it does have a property mark. So it was reissued to the Navy, and that would be the North Sea Navy base in Wilhelmshaven. So this is actually a Navy from the Weimar period. It has just a standard DWM magazine, not Navy marked. But this is also a variation and a gun that was reworked, 1917 parts, but this is not a 1917 receiver. So, you know, leftover parts, Navy parts, and then it went to the Navy. So Weimar period from the 20s, we'll just say from the 1920s, could be the early 30s. And then finally, we have a World War II Navy Luger. This is dated 1940. Made by Mauser. It has really nice grips, but look at that. There's that little tiny chip. Beautiful grips, little tiny chip, and that's from somebody taking this out and then prying it up, and that chips that off. Again, $1 million chip. This is all matching except for a blank magazine. And again, this is all original, correct, not cut off barrel, correct barrel. Notice the difference. This is a correct World War II barrel, 4-inch barrel, on a 1940 Mauser, and there is the Navy property mark. Now it's pretty thin, meaning it's been worn down a bit, but the whole gun shows the same amount of wear and is all correct. So we went from 1906, 1908, 1917, and finally 1940. So a little bit of everything and something for everyone out there. These navies are getting harder and harder to find because they're prized by collectors and therefore bring a little bit of a higher price. Hey, thanks for watching. That was a quick overview. Coming up next, I'm going to talk about guns from World War II, early compared to late. I think you'll find it interesting. So stay tuned. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel.